So here first write a program to find the largest and smallest element in an array. So we are supposed to write a program which will accept some numbers and store it in an array, and then we have to find out what is the largest number and smallest number in that array. So here hash include stdio.h, it is for the standard input output operations. Then void main marks the beginning of the main function. Now here I have created an array by the name A and given the size as 20. So it is an integer array. So it can hold up to maximum 20 numbers. Then I have to accept the number of elements, that is I have to specify how many elements I am going to store in that particular array or the limit of the array. So I need a variable to accept that. So I have created here, I have declared a variable n for that purpose. Next I have to find the largest element in the array, so I need a variable to store that. So I have declared here big to store the largest element in the array. Similarly, I should also find out the smallest element in the array. So I need a variable to store the smallest element in the array. So I have declared the variable small here for that purpose. So int a of 20, that means an integer array with the name a, size is 20. So 20 maximum 20 numbers it can store. Similarly, n to hold the accept the limit for the number of elements to be stored in the array, big to store the largest element in the array, small to store the smallest element in the array. So next printf, enter the number of array elements, that is I have to specify how many elements I am going to store in the array. So scanf %d comma ampersand n. So whatever the number of elements the user says, that will be stored in variable n. N is of integer type, so %d comma ampersand, that is the address. N is the variable where the value will be stored. Next I have to accept the array element, so enter the array element. So I'll have to store the elements in the array by making use of the for loop over here. So for I equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus scanf %d comma ampersand a of I, that is incrementally one by one values I'll store in the array. So first now I is equal to 0. So n, for example, I have taken here n as 4. So the condition will be checked. I is less than n, since 0 is less than 4 is true, so the control will go inside the for loop. So scanf %d comma ampersand a of I is 0 now. So first input what you are giving, the first value will be stored at the location a of 0. Here in this example we have taken it as 1, first element, so that will be stored in the location a of 0. Next the I will be incremented by 1, I was 0, I becomes 1, and now the condition is again checked. So 1 is less than 4, condition is true, so control will go inside. This time now the second value what is input by the user will be stored at ampersand a of I, that is I is now 1, so a of 1. So a of 1, the value 2 is stored in a of 1. Similarly, the I value will be incremented, so until I becomes 3, the fourth value, that is the 4 is the input I have given here, 1 2 3 4. 4 will be stored at location a of 3. Next I will be incremented by 1, I becomes 4. Once I becomes 4, the condition is checked. So I is less than n, 4 is less than n, that is 4 is less than 4. The condition becomes false, so the control will not go inside the loop. So now 4 values we have accepted and stored in the array a at a of 0, a of 1, a of 2 and a of 3. Now we have to find the largest element. So what I am doing here is I will assign the first element in the array as the largest element, and then compare that element with all other elements in the array. If there is any other element in the array whose value is larger than the value stored in big, then I will replace that value or replace the element or copy that element into big. So now here for big equal to a of 0. So first value or the first element value in the location a of 0, that is the first element of the array, I am assigning it to the variable big. In our example a of 0, the value is 1. So 1 will be assigned to big. Now I am going to compare it with each and every element in the array. So for I equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. So now first I is 0, n is 4. So 0 less than 4 condition is true. So control will go inside the for loop. Now if a of I is greater than big, a of I is now a of 0, whether it is greater than big. So a of 0, the value stored is 1. The value in big is also 1. So 1 is greater than 1, condition is false. So the control will go to the updation statement I plus plus. Now I is incremented by 1 and now the condition is checked. 1 is less than 4. So 1 is less than 4 condition is true. So the control will come inside. Now if a of I is greater than big, so a of I is now a of 1. A of 1, what is the value stored in at location a of 1? Value is 2. So 2 is greater than big. Big is the big value stored in big is 1. So 2 is greater than 1. So the condition is true. So control will go inside the if, inside the if, and now big equal to a of I. So big equal to a of I. A of I is a of 1. The value stored is 2. So 2 will be assigned to big. Now the earlier value in big was 1. Now the value is changed to 2. Then again the control will go to the updation part I plus plus. So I will be incremented by 1. So like this the condition goes on. I goes on incrementing and the condition will be checked. So finally once I becomes 4, the condition I is less than n, that is 4 is less than 4, becomes false and the control will come out and the largest value will be now stored in the variable big. Next we have to find the smallest element. Again same logic we are using here. So initial first element itself I'll assign it as small. So small equal to a of 0. So a of 0, the value is 1. 1 will be assigned to small. Now I'm checking whether there is any other element which is less than the small. So which is less than the value stored in the variable small. If that's the case, I will swap it. So for I equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. So again I is 0 now. So 0 less than 4 condition is true. So control will come inside the loop. Now if a of I is less than small, a of I, the value stored in it a of I, that is a of 0, the value is 1, which is less than small, the value stored in variable small is also 1. So 1 is less than 1, the condition is false. So control will go back to the for loop and I plus plus is executed. So I is incremented by 1. So I becomes 1 now. So now 1 is less than 4. I is less than n, condition is checked. Condition is true. So again control will come inside the for loop if a of I is less than small. A of I is now a of 1. The value stored at a of 1 is 2. So 2 is less than small. The value stored in small is 1. So 2 is less than 1. The condition is false. So control will go back to the for loop. It will execute the updation part I plus plus. So I will be incremented. So this goes on and once the I reaches 4, the condition I is less than n, that is 4 is less than 4 fails, the control will come outside. In this example, since first element itself is the smallest element, so every case, every iteration, if a of I is less than small, will be always false. So that's why whatever value we assigned to small in the beginning itself will be the smallest element. Then the control comes out of the for loop and finally now displaying the array elements. So the elements of the array are now for I equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. Each element I'll have to display. So starting from the 0th element, that is a of 0, a of 1, a of 2, a of 3. So once it reaches a of 3, next I becomes 4. That means the condition becomes false and the control will come out of the loop. I have given here slash t because I just want to display it with one tab space. You can also give slash n if you want to display the values or the data stored in the array one below the other. This is I have used one slash t here just to give the tab space. Then after that the smallest array element is, so smallest array element is stored in variable small. Similarly, I'll print the largest array element that is stored in the variable big. Sample output is shown over here. Since I have given that in the printf statement, printf percentage d slash t, that is the array element, so it is showing the array elements in one single row with a tab space. If you give slash n, it will display the array elements in one below the other. Now next we'll see the program, that is write a program to find the sum and average of elements in an array. So here I have to create an array, accept the elements and store it in the array. Then I have to find the sum and average of the elements stored in the array or the value stored in the array. So now here again I have created an integer array A with size I have given 20, so it can hold up to 20 values. Then n again to specify the number of elements. Then I need to compute the sum and average. So to compute the sum, I need another variable to store the result. So I have taken sum, I initialized it to 0. Average can be a floating point. So float avg. Avg is the variable I'm using to store the average value. Now so first one, enter the number of array elements. So the user will specify how many number of elements is going to enter. We have taken here n as 4. So scanf percentage d comma ampersand n. So 4 is the input we have given, that will be stored in variable n. Now I have to accept the array elements one by one. So I made use of the for loop for I equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. So it will start from 0, will go up to 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So totally 4 elements or 4 numbers I am going to store in the array A of I. Now either sum I can calculate later once I accept the array element, or incrementally as and when I accept the array elements I can go on computing the sum. So I'm computing the sum here itself, as and when we accept the array elements I am going to compute the sum. Now first for I equal to 0, so I is less than n, n is 4, so 0 is less than 4 is true, so control will come inside the for loop. Now I have given the first value, let us say as 1, because the example I have taken here is 1, 2, 3, 4. First element I have given is 1. So that will be stored in A of I. A of I is now A of 0, that will be stored in A of 0. Now sum equal to sum plus A of I. Sum I have initialized it to 0. So 0 plus A of 0. A of 0, the value I have stored is 1. So sum equal to sum plus 1. 0 plus 1. 1 will be stored in sum. Again the control will move back to the for loop. Updation takes place. I is incremented by 1. I becomes 1 now. So 1 is less than 4 condition is true. So next value whatever I have input, whatever the user inputs will be stored in A of I, that is A of 1. So the value here in this example I have taken it as 2. So 2 will be stored at location A of 1. Now sum equal to sum plus I. Now previously the sum value computed was 1. So 1 plus A of I is A of 1. The value I have given is 2. So 1 plus 2, sum becomes 3. So like this the for loop continues until I reaches 4. Once I reaches 4, the 4 is less than 4 condition fails. So control will come outside the for loop and the sum will be computed as total as 10. Next, we have to compute the average. Average equal to sum divided by n, that is the number of elements. In this example, 10 divided by 4, that will be 2.5. Now I have to display the array elements. Again for loop and displaying the array elements. This time I have given slash n, so that one below the other the array elements will be displayed. First A of 0, then A of 1, then A of 2, then A of 3. Once I becomes 4, control will come out of the for loop. Then sum and average I have displayed in the next printf statement. So first sum, next average. Next we will see the program to display the Fibonacci series up to n terms. This program we have already seen in the decision making statements, also in the loops. Now what exactly is the Fibonacci series? Fibonacci series, we know that the first number is 0 and the second number is 1. The third number is computed by adding the previous two numbers, that is 0 plus 1, so the third number is 1. Similarly, any nth Fibonacci number we can compute it by adding the n minus 1th Fibonacci number and the n minus 2 Fibonacci numbers. Previous two numbers we'll have to add, we'll get the current nth Fibonacci term. So we are supposed to accept the nth term and then display the Fibonacci series up to n terms. So this can also be done in making use of an array. So here I have taken fib as the array, which size I have given it as 20, which can hold up to 20 values or 20 integers. I have declared it as an integer. Now this fib, whatever I have declared here, will be used to generate and store the Fibonacci series numbers. N is to specify, n is used a variable, I declared variable n to store the nth term of the Fibonacci series. I have declared here to access the array elements. Now, since first two numbers should be 0 and 1, then we can compute all other numbers. That's why first two numbers, I'm going to initialize it at the first two locations of the array. So array starts from 0. So fib of 0 equal to 0 and fib of 1 equal to 1. First two numbers of the Fibonacci series are initialized and stored in first two locations of the array fib. Next, printf enter the nth term. Now I am asking the user to enter the nth term. Once the user enters the nth term, will be stored in the variable n, that is percentage %d comma ampersand n. Next, now the Fibonacci series I will have to display up to the nth term. So printf the Fibonacci series up to percentage %d term is comma n I have given there, that is where the nth term is stored. Now first I have to check now if n is equal to 1. If the user has given input as 1, that means only the first Fibonacci term you want to display. So which is already stored in the first location of the array. So if n is equal to 1, then printf percentage %d comma fib of 0. Now if the user has entered 2, then first two Fibonacci series numbers I'll have to display, which are already stored in the array. So else if n is equal to 2, then printf percentage %d slash n percentage %d slash n, that is one below the other, I want to display. So fib of 0 comma fib of 1. So if user inputs is 1, then if n equal to 1 is true and the if part will be executed. If the user has given 2, then if n equal to 1 is false, so control will go to else if part, n is equal to 2 is true, then first two Fibonacci numbers are computed. Now if this is not the case, if the user has not given input as 1 or 2, that means from starting from the third number I'll have to compute the Fibonacci series number. So that part I have written it as the else part. So else percentage %d slash n percentage %d slash n fib of 0 comma fib of 1, that is first two Fibonacci numbers I'll have to display it first, remaining I'll have to compute. So first two Fibonacci numbers are already stored in fib of 0 and fib of 1, because the user has given the input more than 2, that means obviously first two numbers I'll have to display, then I'll have to compute the remaining numbers. That's why I have displayed the first two Fibonacci numbers, which are already stored in the array at fib of 0 and fib of 1. Now starting from the third number I'll have to compute. So for I equal to 2, that is 0 and 1 over next element is the will be stored in location 2. So I equal to 2, I is less than n, because array starts from 0 to n minus 1. So I is less than n, I plus plus. So for example, if the user has given input as 4, then first if n is equal to 1 is false, so control will come to else if part. N is equal to 2, that is also false, so the control will come to else part. Now first printf percentage %d fib of 0 and fib of 1 will be executed. First two numbers will be displayed. After that the control will come to the for loop. Now I equal to 2, n I have given it as 4, so 2 is less than 4 condition is true, so control will come inside the for loop. Now I have to compute the fib of 2, that is the third number in the Fibonacci series. So fib of 2 will be equal to fib of I minus 1 plus fib of I minus 2. That is the previous two numbers I'll have to add. So fib of I minus 1, that is 2 minus 1 will be 1, plus fib of 2 minus 2, that is 0. So fib of 0 plus fib of 1. Fib of 1 plus fib of 0. Fib of 0 is already stored in the array. So that is 0 first number, plus second number is 1, that is fib of 1, that is 1. So 0 plus 1, that is 1. It will be stored in fib of 2, that is the third number, and I'll have to display that printf percentage d slash n comma fib of 2. Fib of 2 is now 1. Now, so I have displayed now 0, 1 and 1. Now again control will move back to the for loop. Increment takes place, that is updation I plus plus. So I was 2, I becomes 3. Now the condition is checked whether 3 is less than 4. Condition is true. So control will come inside the for loop. Now fib of 3. Fib of 3 equal to fib of I minus 1, that is fib of 2, plus fib of I minus 2, that is fib of 1. Fib of 2 we have previously computed. Now fib of 2 is 1, plus fib of 1 is 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So that will be stored in fib of 3. So that will be displayed now. Printf percentage d slash n comma fib of I. So we have now already printed 0, 1, 1 and 2. So totally 4 Fibonacci series numbers we have already printed. So the control will come back to the for loop. I will be incremented by 1. I was 3. Now I becomes 4. So now I is less than n. 4 is less than 4. Condition is checked. Condition is false. So the control will come outside the for loop and the program terminates. So the first 4 Fibonacci numbers are 0, 1, 1 and 2 will be displayed. Execute the program and check the output.